Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the 1044, a new weekly webisode and podcast from the editors at CCJ, Overdrive, and Truck Parts Service. I'm James Gillette, and my co-host on the other side is Jason Cannon, editor of CCJ. We'll be hitting YouTube, social media, and your preferred podcast listening app each week with a new episode of the 1044. So go ahead and subscribe to CCJ's YouTube channel if you haven't already, and find the 1044 in your favorite podcast app and subscribe there too. This week on the 1044, we're diving into what else, the presidential election, and what the numbers say about where trucking stands on the two presidential candidates, a curious design aspect of electric trucks, and one heroic trucker. Jason, do you have your voting plan ready for next week?
Oh, yeah, man. I'm going to go vote for the guy that called the other guy unfit for office. You can't have a guy like that elected to office, and I really appreciate the guy pointing that out so we don't accidentally vote for him. So I'm going to go toss a vote his way. How about you? Are you going to earn that I voted sticker?
I'm going to do my best. My polling place here is about half a mile from my house, and like the other polling places, it opens at 7, and that's about the time I think I'm going to go try to get in line and see if I can do my civic duty. I've been on the fence the last few weeks about trying to go vote early at the courthouse, but I've heard that's been a madhouse too, so I'm thinking about just sticking with it old school, live action, and pull the lever. All right, time for our main segment, Under the Hood. Jason, this week's Under the Hood is a continuation of what we're already talking about here, and that is what everyone else is talking about this week, next week, and likely for the foreseeable future, and that's the election.
Oh boy, I was hoping we were going to talk about more politics.
So we've done a little polling on Overdrive, and this poll definitely would not rank as an A-plus poll on 538, but take it for what it's worth. With nearly 1,000 respondents as of last week on Overdrive, and that's mostly an audience of owner-operator truck drivers. 75% said they were pulling the lever for the incumbent, President Trump. 19% said they're voting for Uncle Joe, the Democratic challenger. 2.5% said they're undecided. 2% said they're going third party or write-in. And 1% said they're not voting. So check my math on that. I think it adds up to 99.5.
Yeah, the math checks out. I think that other 0.5% are probably packing their bags and making a run for one of the borders of their choice.
Probably so. So diving a little bit further into some of these numbers, we know trucking is traditionally a conservative industry. It's more pro-business and less apt to like regulatory, less regulations. So those are generally main platforms of the Republican Party. But what I found somewhat telling is that trucking's political dollars this election match up really closely to that Overdrive polling that we were just talking about. On CCJ this week, we reported that of the donations deemed as from those within the trucking industry, Trump is besting Biden by a 10-1 margin. That's over $1 million for Trump so far from the trucking industry, and about $150,000 for Joe. More broadly, trucking has given $6.9 million to Republicans versus $1.4 million to Democrats in the 2020 election cycle, and that is almost exactly on par with elections dating back to the mid-90s. So I guess the more things change, the more they stay the same, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, this is not exactly breaking news to you, but, Republicans, they tend to be more pro-flexibility. Democrats are more pro-regulation. But, there's really a lot more to it than just Donald versus Joe. There's the consideration that there's almost certainly going to be some level of congressional turnover. And, what if the Democrats take the Senate? The lack of a long-term highway bill is going to become a really big issue really soon, and a Republican White House would favor trucking, specifically with highway spending on things like roads, bridges, and such. A lot more so than one ran by Grandpa Joe. I think you called him Uncle Joe. He's a lot older than my uncle, so he's Grandpa Joe. Of course, the Republican Senate team with the Republican White House probably gets that highway bill through a lot faster than a split in any form. We saw what a Biden highway bill might look like with the INVEST Act, which died in the Senate this year. It included things like minimum insurance requirements, speed limiters. We haven't heard about speed limiters in a while. Making CSA scores public, sleep apnea screenings, among other things. It's worth noting that we also currently don't have a full-time FMCSA administrator.
Yeah, that's right, Jason. And we have not had an FMCSA administrator for over a year, and it very well could be another year, maybe longer, whichever way the election goes, before there is a full-time Senate-confirmed FMCSA administrator. And you're exactly right on the INVEST Act. You know, it offered a preview of what Democrats might seek on the trucking and highway bill front if they control Congress. And it's really kind of what you would expect. It's a much broader regulatory framework than what a Republican Congress might favor, and it's understandable. So it's understandable that the political weight, both the overdrive polling and the political donations data that we talked about, swings toward Republicans in federal elections. I do think it's worth noting here that the FAST Act, which was generally well received in trucking, was passed with a Republican Congress and a Democrat in the White House. That was 2015. The FAST Act was passed by, both a Republican House and Senate, and then signed by President Obama. Paul Ryan was the Speaker of the House then, and Mitch McConnell was still in control in the Senate. Okay, so I think we've hit that issue. We've done our due diligence there, Jason, and we can put politics to bed. Generally, I don't like talking about politics, so I think we tried to thread the needle here on what might be the most high-level issues for the trucking industry regarding the election. And now on to the mailbag. Jason got a great one here for you that came in on Facebook, and I just happen to have it in this envelope right here, and I'll crack open. It's official mailbag. Just curious, why would the new electric Kenworth truck need a grill? Anyone? Jason, take it away.
Sure. First off, I would like to congratulate you and I both that we are so successful with this webisode and podcast that we now have props. So congratulations to you and I. On to a really great question. As this reader's pointing out, the electric truck doesn't need that volume of air flooding through the grill and into the radiator. But I think the answer here is a lot less complex than you might think. For one, it's the parts commonality with the diesel versions of the same model. Basically, it saves Kenworth money and time versus redesigning the hood and the front end, just so you've got a unique look for a electric version versus a diesel version. Secondly, some of the components, and let's just say brakes, for example, they still need that airflow. And then there's the consistency of the look. A truck grill is a very distinct part of that truck's design. You can kind of tell, oh, that's a Kenworth, that's a Freightliner by the look of the grill when it's coming at you down the road. And I think Kenworth wants, and I think Freightliner's E-Cascadia is the same way. They both want the appearance of that Freightliner truck, that Kenworth truck, and you really don't get that when you sort of reinvent the grill of the vehicle. And you can kind of also look at some of the comments online about the appearance of Tesla's Semi and the Nicholas tractor, how unconventional, I've heard them called ugly, I've heard them called silly. And I'm sure if you're a legacy trucking OEM like Kenworth, like Freightliner, I don't want to take my customers too far, too quickly down this journey.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. There's so many design elements that could change without having to build the truck around the combustible engine that's been around so long. And I don't think that in time that they won't change. So like in 2060, a truck, I'm guessing, will be a completely different animal than the trucks on the road today. And hey, by that point, they might even be flying. If you have a question that you'd like us to answer in an upcoming mailbag, please shoot us a note at 1044trucking@gmail.com. That's 1044trucking@gmail.com. Or give us a call, 404-491-1380. Again, that's 404-491-1380. Call that number and leave us a voicemail. I check that almost daily, and we would love to hear your questions and comments. All right, so Jason, now on the Roadside Attractions, I think you've got something queued up here for us.
Yeah, the last several times we've done these, this news has kind of been light and kind of humorous, but I came across something yesterday that I feel like we really kind of need to pivot. And we really need to give a nod to Moez Samrani. Mo got an Amber Alert Saturday for 2 missing girls out of Kansas. He saw a vehicle matching the description and he called it in. Oklahoma police pulled the car over and arrested the guy who, as it turned out, had also killed his 2 sons before abducting his 2 daughters. Mo's a truck driver, just out there doing his job, paying attention to what's going on around him. So, big time shout out to you, Mo, and thank you for being a really awesome guy, for being aware of what's going on around you and getting this guy off the road. Truckers do a really awesome job doing, unique and special things on the road every day. But Mo, today is all about you, my man.
Yeah, way to go, Mo. Huge shout out. And it's a sad story, but good on Mo for getting the job done. Well, that was our edition of the 1044 this week. Hit us with your mailbag questions at 1044trucking@gmail.com. Again, that's 1044trucking@gmail.com. With any questions, feedback, or criticism, we're happy to accept that. Or give us a call, 404-491-1380, and leave us a message there. Jason, anything else you want to say before we go?
I encourage everybody to get out and vote. I know we've already decided that we don't like discussing politics, but November the 3rd, you get one crack at it every 4 years. So don't waste your opportunity.
That's right. Good point, Jason. All right, everybody. Well, take care and stay safe, and we'll see you next week.